Hey everybody, today I'm reacting to a video about jaw training. Everybody wants a chiseled jaw line these days. In fact, when my kids came home, he's like doing this.
Yeah, boy.
Something like that. They're like, I'm mewing. Anyways, is this just a guy thing or are the girls trying to get the chiseled jawline too? Leave a comment below. Let me know. Is this a trend for the girls or just the boys? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. This video is from Pete on Purpose. I tried Andrew Huberman's jaw training for 60 days. All right, Andrew Huberman, kind of a famous guy. Podcast. Neuroscientist, I believe, like sauna, cold training, things like that have become partially big, probably in relation to this guy. Okay, so let's see what Pete has to say. Tried this exercise, this jaw training.
I always thought having a chiseled jaw was down to genetics or having a...
There you go, first thing. Chiseled jaw down to genetics. Well, it's part of it, that's for sure. Look at these guys, so rugged. Cheekbones, strong jaws. Well, for one thing, none of these guys have excess tissue weight. They're not overweight in this area.
Low body fat percentage. However, according to Andrew Huberman, changes in our lifestyle, how we breathe, as well as jaw training, we can completely change the structure and appearance of our jaw.
Now the jazzerciser is really big in Hollywood.
Jazzerciser?
Yeah, they do these like things where like
Bouncy mouthpiece.
those work. They definitely work. It completely changes the structure of the face in just 2-3 months.
It sounds like they're promoting the jazzerciser, the thing you put in between your teeth and you squeeze, right? You're trying to affect your facial structure, your jawline. By the way, nobody's ever commented about my jawline. Do people just think I have, blue eyes, or what do y'all think? Let me know in a comment below. Do I have a chiseled jaw? Okay, so Andrew Huberman, he's showing this little clip of him talking about this jazzerciser. There's probably different brands, different names. Something you put in between the teeth and you squeeze on it. You're trying to develop, particularly the chewing muscles, like the masseter muscle, the temporalis, and others. He makes the comment about see facial structure changes in 2 to 3 months. I believe that's about 60 days, hence maybe the video, 60 days. Let's see. Do you believe it?
Jaw training can help open up your nasal passageways, which promotes nasal breathing. This can reduce our exposure to foreign substances, improve our oxygen uptake, improve our immune system, and lower the risk of snoring and sleep apnea.
Yes, breathing through your nose is important and good for health and the growth and development.
Probably thinking, why do we need to train our jaw? Isn't that something we do naturally? Well, it's all due to the dramatic change in our diet and lifestyle, depicted in the book Jaws by Sandra Kahn and Paul Ehrlich.
I read that book. I did a review. Check it out on the channel. It was okay, right? Orthodontists have known for some time that malocclusion, right, the way that our teeth don't fit together properly, are related or is related to bones, teeth, diet, maybe even breathing. All these things can contribute to the way that our teeth fit together. Oh, and maybe even the balance of muscles like your tongue, lips, cheeks, little fibers inside right by your teeth called PDL ligaments, PDL fibers. And they're not actually called PDL ligaments. PDL means periodontal ligament. Okay, so, and malocclusion is not all just diet. At least nobody's been able to prove that yet.
This book, they explain that we evolved eating tough, hard foods that naturally trained our jaw and facial structure. However, with the rise of soft processed foods, not only can we see a dramatic change in our facial structure, but as well as our physical health.
Okay, yes. Again, we've known for some time now, or at least hypothesized. That's the right way to say it, okay? All of this is mostly theory. Hasn't ever been proven by rigorous scientific tests, which can be hard to do.
Look, they follow two identical twins. One grows up eating regular processed soft food, and the other grows up in the jungle eating hard, tough food, and their facial structures are completely different. So one of the kids has a strong jaw, high cheekbones, and a very aesthetic face, and the other kid has a small, weaker chin and more of a droopy appearance.
That's pretty intense.
So by training our jaw, we can not only look better, but we can breathe better and live better. So after hearing all the benefits, I jumped online, and even though they charge $39.99 for what equivocally look like 3.5 rubber balls, I thought I had to put this to the test. So for those of you wondering what $39.99 gets you for jaw training, I've got a 30, a 40, and a 50-pound resistance. So they look like this, and you bite here, your teeth goes on the plastic part here, and you bite down, as so.
there's some truth to that, right? Our diets are different, particularly in modernized society, the US. You know, back in the day when we were more like farm-based, you had to work outside a lot, right? Nowadays, we do a lot of exercise, and we do exercise because, you know, our jobs and what we're involved in doesn't require as much physical activity. So the same thing perhaps can be said about the way that we eat. The point I'm trying to get across is that there are things that, as a result of society, culture, that maybe we have to adapt to. So before, you know, people didn't have to worry about training or specific postures. It just kind of happened because of the way that they lived their lives. They had to live their lives.
You need to train for about 5 to 15 minutes a day, and you should see results within 2 to 3 months. So the next couple of weeks, I start jumping
5 to 15 minutes a day, 2 to 3 months, see results.
down on my jaw toners. As someone who spends hours a day sitting in front of a computer, it was really easy for me to keep up with my training. I actually quite liked it. It kind of felt like chewing gum. But the one thing is, you do get a build-up of saliva in your mouth. Within 2 weeks, I'd already worked my way up from the 30 to the 40-pound ball trainer. And by the end of the month, even the 50-pound trainer was pretty easy. So I looked online for some more jaw training apparatus. I came across another website that had a 60-pound trainer, as well as some jaw training chewing gum. Okay, so these are the new jaw training apparatus I've been using. This is the jaw training chewing gum. And this stuff's just literally hard chewing gum. Yeah, I quite enjoy it.
Yeah, it'll strengthen your muscles, but it'll break your teeth.
And it says on the box you're only supposed to chew for about 10 to 15 minutes every other day. And next up we have the...
I wonder how they came up with those numbers. Are they studying this stuff? Are there tests? And what kind of tests are they? You know, chewing 5 to 10 to 15 minutes a day?
60 pounds jaw trainers. As you can see, they look different to the other ones I have. And these ones actually go into the side of your mouth. Like this. So I'll be honest, I used these for about 5 minutes and I started to feel like pain, or it felt like very uncomfortable and almost sore on my teeth. So I thought, I'm not going to use these, and I thought actually maybe it's a good idea to do a little bit of research to see if there's any negative effects of all this jaw training I'm doing before I go any further.
Probably a good idea.
And after a little bit of research, I did find 2 negative consequences people were experiencing from using these jaw trainers. Number 1 was teeth erosion. Apparently the excessive amount of chewing creates acid reflux, and the acid reflux can come up and erode the enamel of your teeth. And more
don't want that.
worryingly, some people are experiencing TMD, temporomandibular disorder.
Well
so the
done.
TMD or the TMJ joint is the joint here at the top of your jaw, and there's a lot of people saying they've experienced pain and discomfort in this joint, and it's apparently
Yeah. Well, first off, when you train a muscle, like, it's gonna get sore. You gotta be careful though, doing something to the point where it causes pain. And they're exactly right though. This could be a common issue associated with training this area, right? You're trying to strengthen these muscles, build these muscles here, and those are frequently involved in TMDs, temporomandibular disorders of the joint or around the joint, leads to facial pain. And actually, in fact, this type of pain is very common and it can really affect your life. So be careful.
really awful when that does happen. However, I did also look into recovery methods if you do experience TMD, and training your jaw was one of the recovery methods, so I don't really know what I think about that.
TMJ problems are still very hard to understand. They can be a bone problem, it can be a muscle problem, a nerve problem, it could be a stress problem. There's lots of things that can contribute to the problem TMD or your TMD. So depending on what the problem is, and if it's multifactorial, like training your jaw, doing more exercises could make it worse. Maybe if you do it slow enough over time, maybe you can strengthen it just like an actual muscle and could help it get better. Hard to know for sure though. Be careful.
However, if you follow the instructions like on the website, it says to train your jaw for 5 to 15 minutes every other day, I think you should be alright. Okay, so a quick change of subject, but I've been watching so many videos about jaw training, and this video with Zac Efron keeps coming up about his new jaw. I don't know if you've seen it, but his appearance has changed quite radically in the past year, and a lot of people are speculating that it's plastic surgery, but from all the research I've been doing, I've come up with my own hypothesis. So Zac says that he broke his jaw in 2013, 13, he was running in his house and he slipped and bashed it on a coffee table. He said for the recovery process that he's been doing rehab for his jaw. However, recently he was away for a movie and he stopped doing the rehab and basically his jaw doubled in size. This actually makes sense to me now. Now what I've learned about the masseter muscle here, if he stopped doing his rehab, that his chewing has changed and he may have inadvertently been using his masseter muscles. Put on top of that his physique transformations possibly performance enhanced. So yeah, I don't think he had plastic surgery. I think it was a combination of his jaw training and performance enhancers.
First off, Zac Efron, man, you were the man in High School Musical, and some other ones like Hairspray and The Greatest Showman. That was a good one. Okay, so anyways, if you break your jaw, right, like your mandible or your it's harder to break your maxilla, but you can break here or at your joints here. That could require oral surgery, right? So to put your jaw back together, depending on how bad it was, that could definitely change the shape, form of your jaw. So plastic surgery, they kind of get involved in that sometimes, but an oral surgeon, especially if it's like a serious jaw break, those guys are probably involved, and that definitely could affect the shape of your jaw. Plus, that guy was, whew.
Anyway, enough about Zac. Let's see if the 60 days of jaw training have led to any noticeable results in my jawline. So here's a video of me on day 1 and day 60 of my jaw training, and to be honest, I can't really see any noticeable differences apart from the first video, my ridiculous bed hair. I must have been in a real rush to film that first video there. So to be really thorough, I've actually pulled up 2 YouTube videos, one that I filmed before I started my jaw training and my most recent video, and I think I can actually maybe notice a little bit of difference. I really can't tell anymore.
Well, so it sounds like he doesn't think that it worked too much, right? That it kind of talked about 2 to 3 months, said you might see some changes. I think based on what I can see here, it's really hard to tell. The hair is always tricky, right? You're trying to see things, right? Skin and tone. It's hard when you've got the hair. So the one side, the after, right now looks like he's got less hair on his face compared to the before, which might hide some of the, the musculature, but I think he's right. I don't think there's been that much change.
So it's time for my final thoughts on jaw training. So despite all the horror stories about people messing up their TMD or the enamel on their
people messing up their TMJ, they get TMD.
Teeth, for me, regular jaw training does kind of make sense. So thinking about my diet as I made this video, I do eat a lot of soft food, smoothies, fruit, yogurt, oatmeal. So I think for me personally, implementing a little bit of jaw training is probably beneficial. I do feel like my jaw does feel stronger and I do feel like my airways feel better. I've been suffering from sinusitis for a couple of years.
Sinusitis. I think that's what he's going for. Sinus problems. Inflammation of the sinus.
And I've pretty much tried everything there is to clear it. So if I continue to train my jaw, I can improve my nasal passageways. It's worth to continue trying for me. I've also recently implemented mewing.
Okay, so the jaw train to improve your airway, not a lot of strong evidence out there for that. Personal opinion.
There's mouth taping when I sleep. However, I haven't been doing that long enough.
Mewing and mouth taping, same thing, trying to focus on making sure you're breathing through your nose, which is not a bad thing.
To discuss it yet on video, but I'm hoping to see improvements in the future.
Well, so my take on this, all right, jaw training, is it a bad thing? No. Could it lead to problems with your TMJ? Yes. Could it help define your jawline? Maybe. And you're like, well, so should I do it or should I not do it? For me, I would focus on things like making sure you have a good weight. You're at a good weight, right? You don't want to be overweight. Losing excess weight can help tone or show more muscle, more definition. Eating a healthy diet. Processed foods, no bueno for you. Whether or not you choose to chew gum or eat harder things, you could consider that, but it's hard to promise results. In theory, you work out a muscle, it can get bigger over time. You can also overwork a muscle and injure yourself. So again, be careful. And if you're chewing lots of gum, be careful what kind of gum has lots of sugar in it. The most important thing for oral health that we know of right now is making sure that we're not eating and drinking things that are super acidic or sugary that can contribute to cavities, and that's no bueno. As it relates to changing your jaw structures with this type of thing, it seems unlikely. Jaw bones are not easily changed unless you break them. Don't do that. Especially as an adult. When you're young and your bones are growing and naturally changing, they're increasing in size, in density, then putting pressure on the bones, environmental pressures to adapt probably have greater impact during those times. You still want to consider light, continuous forces over time that may influence the way that your bones develop, but that's probably the best way, outside of surgery, again, breaking your bones, to see changes in your overall jaw structure. There is a lot to be said about genetics, but so much of our bodies are influenced by the environment, so you can't rule that out. If you're an adult getting ready to try this, be very considerate of the stability of your joints. Already, things are good. Maybe consider, like I said, losing weight first, eating healthy, good posture. Dr. Mike Mew is a big fan of that. Those are not crazy things to do. Let's see what people have to say in the comments. The difference is slight, but there is one. The beginnings of a sleeker line, more pulled upwards, where perhaps otherwise a slacking would happen over time. You were young, so you don't see the potential of downward dropping of the facial muscles just yet. Use your hands to massage your jaw muscles every night before sleep. Especially good for people who tighten their bite during sleep, and such tight grip during sleep actually can be a reason for shifting your teeth. Maybe. Massaging the muscles here is not a bad idea, especially if you experience TMD related symptoms. The TMJ problem happened for an incorrect biomechanics of the bite. It wasn't the jawliner by itself, but rather they had a problematic bite that worsened with the jawline exercises since the resistance is higher. Actually, the research is very clear on this, that bites are not always indicated, in fact, not even the primary factor in TMJ related problems. Can it contribute? Yes, but often when you have a TMJ related problem, it doesn't have a lot to do with your bite, or it's not a clear-cut indication that you have a problem with your bite. I found a dentist blog online. He said most of these jaw toners only exercise the front part of the jaw, leaving the molars untouched. Well, you're biting right here, and in order to bite, you have to engage your muscles, so no difference, thanks. I agree. I think jaw training alongside mewing will bring the most amount of change. Perhaps in younger individuals. As you get older, you can change muscle size just like you can when you exercise, even in adults, right? Older people, adults, can get huge muscles, but they don't necessarily change like the length of your bones or the dimension of your bones. That's a little bit harder to see. There's a slight change in the angle of your jaw to do increased tone of your masseter muscles. I think people are seeing the hair difference. That's what I think. It would be interesting to see if you notice any changes after 120 to 180 days. Yes, right? The longer you do something, the more likely you are to see change, especially with muscle, right? Muscle mass, continuous light pressure over time. You can see some changes maybe. Can it improve my philtrum? Well, the philtrum is this right here. Probably not. To be honest, I do see a slight difference. The one on the right does look like your jaw has come out a bit. Again, we're not talking about the bone, the jawbone, probably the muscle. But again, the hair, that's a hard one. Hard to get around the hair. My guy, why didn't you shave for this experiment? You even have different lengths of hair on before and after. It would be almost impossible to tell small changes. Exactly. Somebody speaking the truth. I noticed a slightly younger appearance in the after. Jaw training can make you younger. I'm a dentist, and please don't do that. It's the worst thing you can do to your jaw and teeth. I see at least 2 to 3 patients a week who have messed up and damaged their TMJ and teeth using these things. Very interesting. Very interesting. Will it happen to everybody? Probably not. Could it happen? Yes. Well, there you have it. Jaws are sizer. Be careful. Not a huge proponent of it. If you're an adult, don't do anything crazy.